Hello there. In this video, I'll show you how to set up a C++ project for OpenGL. I'll be doing it on Windows 11 with Visual Studio 2026 Community Edition. VS 2026 Community is completely free for beginners and learners, so you don't have to pay a penny if you want to just follow along exactly. However, you can also do it on Mac or Linux. You can also use VS Code or any other IDE. In fact, you can even use Notepad if you wish. And you can also do it in C because much of the code will remain same. Now, before we create our project, we need to choose a windowing library and an OpenGL loader. Now, a windowing library is responsible for creating a window and handling input, while OpenGL loader is responsible for loading the OpenGL functions. You can use the built-in OS library as the windowing library, but I highly recommend using GLFW as not only it is cross-platform, it is also very easy to use. And as for the loading library, we'll be using GLEW. Now, first of all, download binaries for the targeted architecture and platform. And if the binaries are not available, then you can build from source, go for static libraries wherever possible to avoid dealing with DLL dependencies. Now, we also need a math library, and we generally use it for handling vectors and matrices later on. It's not needed right now, but it's good if we set up just now. Now, we'll be using GLM for this. It is very easy to use and it's also widely used. Now, you can also create your own library, which is not recommended at all. Here we are at the GLFW website homepage. Now, don't just click the download GLFW 3.4, this big button. Go to download, and in here, since I'm using the Windows precompiled binaries and I'm targeting the 64-bit architecture, I'll click this, but since I've already downloaded that, I'll skip it. This is the GLEW website homepage. In here, just download the binaries for Windows 32-bit and 64-bit. But if you're not using any of these, if you are on other operating system, then I think you will have to get the source and build this library yourself. To download GLM, simply head on over to the GitHub page. In here, just go to releases GLM 1.0.3 or whichever one is latest, and simply download GLM. It's a header only library, so there's no lib files or DLL files. Let's create an empty C++ project. We'll call it OpenGL. In here, switch to release mode. Select the project and show all files. We'll create a new folder where we'll place all the code that we write. We'll also create a new CPP file called main.cpp. For now, we'll just leave it blank. Now let's go to the project properties. Inside, select the output directory to solution directory bin. That is what I really like. I don't want the build binaries to be in some other folder. Make sure that the C++ language standard is the highest stable version available, not the preview ones. Same for C. In debugging, change the working directory from project directory to the output directory. It's not needed right now, but we'll need it when we load resources like shaders and textures. Basically, we're changing the path that will load these resources from the project directory to the output directory so that we don't have to keep a copy of those resources at both places. After this, head over to the folder. In here, I've already downloaded and extracted these three libraries that we are going to use. Now, first of all, we'll go inside OpenGL, create a new folder called dependencies. This is where we'll put all of those libraries that we downloaded. First one for GLFW. We also have GLEW and GLM. Now we'll go from GLFW, we'll go inside GLFW. We need the include folder, this GLFW. We'll copy it inside dependencies, GLFW, place it, and we'll rename it to GLFW in all smalls so that we can identify the include folder, and also go inside libvc 2022. Now, even though I'm using the Visual Studio 2026 as of the time of recording, there's no libvc 2026. If there is, then just use that one. We'll copy the GLFW3 lib, not the DLL1, not the empty one, just the GLFW3.lib. And we'll place it directly inside GLFW. Now we need to do much the same thing for GLEW. We'll go inside include, we'll copy the GL folder and place it here, call it GLEW. Then we will also go for the lib release. Now, since I'm targeting x64, I'll need to grab the GLEW32S. Now, the S here stands for static library, which means the lib file, not the DLL file. So we need to grab the GLEW32S one, not the regular one. That is for DLLs. We'll place it inside GLEW. And now let's go for GLM. We just have to copy the entire folder in here. Once that's done, we'll head over to Visual Studio. Again, go to Project Properties. Inside C++, we'll go for General, Additional Include Directories, and we'll have to put the folders that we placed GLFW, GLEW, and GLM. So it's inside Solution dir, Dependencies, GLFW. That is the first one. It's almost the same for GLEW. Then almost the same for GLM as well. Okay, now let's go for the library directories. We need to go linker, input, additional dependencies. But first we need to add the directories before we add the lib files. So in the additional library directories, it's going to be the same. But we only need GLFW and GLEW. GLM is a header-only library, so we don't have to worry about it. Now inside input, the three libraries that we need to add here are GLEW32s.lib, GLFW3.lib and OpenGL32.lib. Now, in Visual Studio, which uses MSVC compiler, the order does not matter much. But if you're using any other compiler, this order will matter because every single library the library depends on should be it should be above the libraries it depends on. Since GLFW3 depends on OpenGL32, it should be above it because the linker will go from right to left, or in this case, bottom to top. But in Visual Studio, again, it does not matter. MSVC is much more flexible with the orders. It's much more forgiving. Now, one final thing that we need to do is that if you are using the GLEW static binaries, if you've not built it, just like I haven't, then we need to define an additional preprocessor, a macro, so that the GLEW library knows that we are using an already built version of it and not just a project. And that macro is GLEW static inside CC++ preprocessor and preprocessor definitions. And with that, our setup is done. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.